everybody. Welcome back to the Straight Out of BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Anyways, anybody that supported the podcast, I really appreciate you and thank you for continuing to do so. Thank you to my Patreon members, anybody that's supporting me financially. As you all know, that's never expected, but it's always extremely appreciated, and everything's reinvested back into the podcast or to help in activism in some way or another. So thank you for that. For anybody that's done that, I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Hi, my name is Peter Arnold, and I went to Elan, and I was there 77 and 1978.
Okay. And walk us through what led up to you being sent away.
Well, things just went pretty bad for me from the start. My parents had their own problems that they had trouble dealing with, and I was basically left to my own devices, and I made a lot of bad decisions. I was a real bad kid. You might say one that only a mother could love. I, if you had something I wanted, and I would break into your house and take it when you weren't there at a very young age. And later on, we got to stealing just about anything we could get our hands on: cars, mopeds, bicycles, sterling silver, stereo equipment. They didn't even have computers then. And by the time I was 16, I had been arrested a dozen times. Drug dealing, drug possession. I was a really bad kid, and I was in 3 or 4 different detention centers before I had gone away to Elan, and the last time I went in front of the judge in New Jersey, state of New Jersey was ready to put me away, and my parents had money, so we elected for me to go to Elan.
Okay, so you were court ordered?
Yes.
Okay. And walk us through how you got there. Were you transported? Did your parents bring you there? How did you get there?
Well, they talk about people being snatched in the night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember hearing anything from anybody about being snatched in the night when I was there. I was taken there in handcuffs.
Okay.
I knew where I was going. I went before the judge. I knew it was going to be an indeterminate amount of time. I wasn't very happy about it. And I was taken by the court officers to a plane where they took me up to Maine and took me to Elan.
Okay. And what do you remember them telling you about the program? Did they tell you anything about it? What did they market it as to you?
Well, the only one who said anything to me about it was the judge.
Okay.
And he said that I didn't think it was going to be different than any other place I'd been. Which I thought it was just going to be another lockup. And but I came to realize very quickly, actually immediately, that it was very different. When you come up to it, originally you're taken back by all the screaming and yelling that's going on, and it just seems like bedlam. And I, at first you think or you say to them, no, I think there's been a mistake made. I think I belong in detention center, not here. And that didn't go over too well. So I faked that I was going to go along with the program because, of course, I wouldn't accept it initially. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
And so I faked it for the first 10 days while I was planning the big escape. And I didn't even know where I was. The only place I could escape to was straight into the woods. But I was willing to do it though.
Yeah.
And so I was in my bunk, and they had a night man who stayed in a centralized area, and they had night owls that were males and females, and they would go around and they take a head count 3 times every hour, 24 hours a day, and they would report back to the night man. Well, I got my clothes on and I was in bed trying to get the guts to run out the door and into the woods. And when I did, I ran right into the night owl.
Oh man.
So they put me in the corner, and putting you in the corner is just like it sounds. Like when you see Dennis the Menace facing the corner, put you in the corner and you stand until you can't stand, and then you sit, and they leave you there for a few days, and they're nice enough to bring a mattress out at night for you and everything. And then general meeting
Yeah.
rings out through the whole place, and they kept me in the corner, but probably about 60 or 70 other kids went into the hall where the general meetings were, and they brought me down, and everyone was kicking and chanting my name as I went down there, and they talk about what you've done, and like you've killed somebody. This person is trying to get away from break the rules, uh doesn't have to follow the program like all the rest of us. Does anybody have any feelings for it? Well, you get 50 or 60 people come up and scream in your face at one time, and they're spitting as they do, and just saying anything, just anything they could do to make you feel bad, you
Yeah.
know. And then get put in the ring, get beat up pretty good, and then they come out with the humiliation part. And for me, it was that, my mother babied me, and she wrote me a letter. And they don't let when you get a letter, it doesn't come to you, or when you write a letter, it doesn't go out. It's heavily screened, and sometimes you don't get it, and sometimes they don't go out. But this particular letter said about how much she loved me and how much she missed me, and how much Buffy, our Cocker Spaniel, missed me. And there I am in front of 60 other 16 whatever year olds trying to look cool, and didn't exactly look very cool. And because at first, when I got there, I was at Elan 3, which is in Poland Springs. And there were a lot of older people there that had severe drug addiction, and everybody there was more. I was almost 17, but I was very immature. So I was at that house for 3 months, and I didn't do anything. I was shot down the whole time. Shot down as, I mean, you start out as a worker on the service crew, and you work your way up to a coordinator, but when you're shot down, you lose all your privileges, and I never got past worker on the service crew. Then, before the next September, they shipped me to another house, which was in Waterford, which was, there were a lot of younger people. It was a real mix of state wards and private pay, and I just fit in a lot better there. And I see, out of all the people that were in my house in Waterford, I was the only one that had a bad drug issue. And this was 77. Okay, now in 77, I know Stu was gone, who was the other gentleman you interviewed, but in 77, the original regime of people who graduated the program, like, I'm not afraid to say their names either: Martin Kruglich, Jeffrey Gottlieb, Joe Ritchie, Peter McCann. I mean, these were people who went there originally because they were junkies, and or they've gotten convicted of hard ass crimes. And they stayed. These directors remained the directors until they either died or right up until the place closed.
Yeah.
So when I was there, the original regime was in charge. They were all the staff, they were all the directors, because in order to work there, you had to have gone through the program.
Yep. Graduated. Yep.
Yeah, and they don't have any professional people like psychologists or psychiatrists. But after a while, I bought into the program
Was it
100%.
was it something they said, or did they just break you down over time? Do you remember
Well, I
what?
tell you, I remember my first day and realizing that I had been abandoned. Okay, now when you're 16 years old and you're abandoned, it doesn't matter if you're a criminal or if you're a straight A student. You still have that feeling.
Yep.
I'm on my own. I can't trust anybody, because each of the students were encouraged to book incidents for other people having broken the rules.
Yep.
And if you didn't book incidents, that was an incident. So you were basically forced to say, Peter Arnold was acting off his eyes for whoever,
Yep.
or so you couldn't trust anybody. You made a couple of friends that you could trust, but very few.
Yeah.
And it really was uh, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Okay, because every person there was either groomed or broken.
Yep.
And the ones that were groomed broke the ones that were broken.
Yep.
You got into a position of authority. You're young. You've never done anything right, and it just brought out the worst in me. I seem to be very good at making other people feel like shit about themselves. And so like I was saying, I was the only one there who had a drug problem, and the guys who were in charge were the original regime, and they were there because they had drug problems.
Yeah.
So they kind of put their arms around me when I got to Waterford. I got away from Elan 3 in Poland Springs, where half of them were junkies. So and so they kind of made special exceptions for me when and they groomed me to run groups, encounter groups where they would tell you to go after this one person for this one reason, and if you were really good, you could get the other 10 people in the group to gang up on that one person. And you know, they told you that the harder you work and the more you accept their concepts, the quicker you will get out of there.
Yeah.
So, which was a lie, a complete lie, because they would have kept you as long as the check's coming in, you know,
Yeah.
and there's no oversight. I mean, you could be in charge of the place. They could leave at night and give you the keys, and you're in charge. You're essentially working for them, but they're writing reports to your probation officer, your parents, that say you're not doing well, you need more time.
Yeah.
You know, so it made you do things, hurtful things that were very unnecessary. You know, it was just like trying to make people feel bad enough about themselves until they want to change.
Or until they would, give into the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was this one kid, and his name was John, and John was the anti-Peter, and Peter was the anti-John. You know, he was like alligator shirts, and I think his parents sent him there because he got a C on his report card or something like that. Where I was the poster boy for the place.
Yeah.
And so I was a full expediter, and he was an expediter trainee, and we'd go around and do head counts every 20 minutes, and stop back at the expediter's office, sit down, and I'd have a sheet of 60 people. Where's this person? Where's that? And every time he got one wrong, I made him go out and knock on the door, and he'd come in, and I give him a verbal reprimand, or what they call a haircut, and just completely humiliate him constantly, round the clock, for 30 days. And I feel really badly about having done that. I mean, and when people would split, if you got sent out to track a split T, you would have to be a very, very trusted person, because if you're not in the house, you're off the head count.
Yeah.
If you could be off for 2 days, 2.5 days at a time, you're out there looking for somebody. And you're so motivated to you want to get that person. When you bring them back, you'll be a hero.
Yeah.
When all along I should have been, get the hell out of here. I hope I never see you again. I mean, And what was it for? For a couple of brownie points that added up to nothing because they were going to keep me there as long as my father was willing to send them $1,200 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that at the time. I thought I was helping the people, believe it or not. So if I treat you inhumanely, I'm putting you through changes that will ultimately amount to your growth. And if I accuse you of doing something you didn't do, I'm teaching you how to deal with injustice in a world that's not fair.
Yeah.
So it was a real mental chess game. And because I did well, I thought that I had like superpowers of perception, that I could look a man in the eye and see into his soul.
Yeah.
They had convinced me of that.
Yeah.
And that was so wrong. It just, you have no perception more than anyone else does, and it does you no good, and you have to work hard and just. So I got out and first of all, I stayed there probably 3 or 4 months longer than I should have
Okay.
because I was ready to leave, but they wanted me to stay there until I graduated high school and go to college, and I was 18.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I could sign myself out.
Yeah.
Okay, but and my father didn't want me to come home because his business was doing so well, and he was afraid that I would fuck that up for him. Because when I come home, I get in trouble, I get my mother upset, my mother wants my father to get involved, and that takes him away from his business, which is his one true love. So he was willing to pay, and they were willing to keep me. And I got out, I took the bus from Portland to Boston, where my family picked me up and brought me down to the Cape, which is where I live, Cape Cod. And my father had a business trip 2 days later. I don't know if my son had been gone for over 2 years. I hadn't talked to him. I hadn't written him. I hadn't seen him. I would have maybe planned to stay a week at home, to be with him. But
Yeah.
he was working on a big deal and making a big commission. And so, we had one day, drove him back to Boston to the airport, let him, it was going to Chicago, and he died in Chicago. And never got to make it up with him, never got to have the relationship I wanted to have with him. I wanted to I was never anything that he wanted, and I was always everything that he didn't want me to be. But the timing was really bad because I thought everything was going to be about me. I'd gone through this thing for over 2 years, and now I'm out, and I want to be part of the world, and I want to go to school. And now all of a sudden, things were not about me at all, you
Yeah.
know, because my mother was mourning.
Yeah.
And I was the youngest. I was the only one at home, and she was a 46-year-old widow. And I had to take care of her. And that was not what I pictured my life was going to be like when I got out. So I left home, and things got a lot worse, because I had to support myself at 18, which wasn't easy. But ultimately, I moved back home, and I was 20, and I still didn't see Elan as having been a bad thing. I thought it was a really good thing. It had changed my life. I was a positive asset to society. And I went to college. I met my wife. We got married, had a family. The principles that Elan had taught me was what I used to get through. They teach you that feelings are not real. Feelings are just feelings. Everybody has them. What differentiates a positive person from a negative person is how you react off of those feelings. So now I'm about 33 years old, and I have a wife and 2 kids and a business, and all of a sudden things imploded on me, and I couldn't deal with anything, not even simple things. I'd start crying at different times, and I didn't even know why. I thought I was losing my mind. And I went I hit the drugs really heavy. It didn't happen overnight, but for about 6 years, I was in and out of the house like a revolving door. And methadone saved my life.
Same here. Yeah. I'm actually on methadone still. I'm working on tapering off a bit, but I
Yeah.
was addicted to meth and heroin for over a decade.
Well, the thing for me was that I was on methadone for 3.5 years. And so the thing is, if you go from 75 to 70 milligrams, you medically, physically, you should feel nothing.
Yeah,
As a
you
matter
should.
of fact, you could go without your dose for a couple days and you wouldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
But me, I'd be at 75 and I'm going to go down to 70, and I get in the car, and the methadone clinic is less than 2 miles from my house, and I'd start dry heaving in the car on the way
Yeah.
to the methadone clinic. It was all a mental thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I walked off at 40 milligrams, and I was sick, sick, sick for a long time.
Months or
I shaved my head because I knew it was going to take this long for my hair to grow back for me to feel better, and I could look in the mirror and see my progress. Um, but I got clean in 2000, and no methadone, no maybe a little bit of weed here and there, no drinking, and I've got my family back, and but even I mean, I'm affected still today. I'm deeply affected. Number one, I think about it too much. It's on my mind all the time. It's like I just if anyone deserved it, it was me. But what I got turned into something different as I got older. and it's kind of a lifetime sentence. This, and nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, they just don't understand.
You
Even
know,
if
my wife is afraid. She's afraid if I bring it up or if I talk about it, or, oh, come on, that was 40 years ago,
yeah,
um, and I'm also in social situations, I'm keenly aware of how different I am than everybody else. What the things I didn't experience and the things they did experience and the things I experienced and they didn't. I find myself that I can't say what comes to mind. I don't feel I can participate in the conversation because they never experienced anything. I mean, so anyways, like I was telling you before, it started in 1970 and it was just drug addicts, people who didn't pay, but by 73 they had they moved to a much larger facility in Sebago. And like I said, by the time I got there in early 77, they had 6 houses with over 200 residents, as they called us. And they built one more house while I was there on the Poland Springs property, probably the biggest house of all. So they had 250 people paying $1,000 a month average, and I would say their cost was less than half of that. So
yeah,
Joe Ritchie was making a lot of money, even back then. I mean, $1 million a year was a lot of money in
yeah,
1977.
yeah,
So, maybe he opened it up in Naples with 4 guys who, but this guy never did anything altruistic. All right. He had dollar signs in his eyes. I mean, he had a mink coat.
yeah,
He come in with a mink coat and a pompadour, and he'd just be able to say one word that would cut you to the bone. And you couldn't, you had to like straighten up and salute just for survival purposes.
yeah,
I mean, here's a 33-year-old man going around like he's a big fucking deal with 16-year-old kids.
yeah, tearing them down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to go back. I have um homicidal fantasies.
Understandably.
And I know where to how to put them in their proper perspective, and I've got a good thing going with my family and my business and my wife, and I don't want to do anything to mess that up, but there are some people who really hurt me, and some people who made me hurt other people for
Yeah,
no reason.
yeah.
I mean, I
You
was
got away with
weak.
it.
I
Got
was
away
weak. I was bullied,
with it.
and they turned me into a monster.
Yeah, yeah, and they got away with it.
They did. They
Yeah,
did, and no one ever paid any price for it whatsoever.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think Maya Salvage said this, that the thing that separated Elan from the other programs was the level of violence.
Yeah,
Okay, because by the time I was there, the ring was supposed to be something that took place during a general meeting, and it was supposed to be supervised by a director, and it was supposed to be done to someone who was a bully and needed to be taught a lesson. But in 78, they just went wild with it. There were residents making a ring not in a general meeting, just in the bathroom and putting the gloves on, and I heard it got worse after I left. It got worse up until 81, I think, when in 81 they closed Parsons Field, which was one of the facilities. That it was a locked facility, and they started losing all their state contracts. So they had contracts with Rhode Island and Connecticut and Illinois mostly. That's what I remember. I'm sure they had contracts with other states, but I was from Jersey, and there was no one else from Jersey there.
Yeah.
So the state kids, you know, if you got a kid in detention center in Providence and he's running away and giving you problems, and someone comes out and says, "Hey, we can keep him. We'll keep him real good for 600 a month," it's a deal.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
Okay. How many people, you said about 200 were on the facility?
When I got there, there was there was 7 facilities with approximately 200 people.
Okay, and that was men and women?
Yes, the facilities were co-educational. There were
Okay.
dorms for the men and dorms for the women, and there was a night owl and a night woman
Okay.
to do the head counts in the women's dorms or in the men's dorms. But like I said, they built another facility while I was there on the grounds of Poland Springs. So that when I left there were probably 260 students
Okay.
or residents.
Okay.
And they didn't
And
call it Elan School back then. It was just Elan. The school had virtually nothing to do with it.
okay. Okay.
School was a privilege.
So
Okay.
they didn't have to study. You didn't study or do school there? It wasn't a thing. You had to earn that privilege, or
Well, first of all, if you were shot down, you didn't get to go to school. You had to clean the house while everyone else went to school. And school was 3 hours a night, 4 nights a week. No teachers, no projects, just self-study with books.
yeah.
No tests. So, I mean, uh, the hardest part about school was staying awake.
I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because it was in an old building that they had those steam heater units, and you were sleep deprived anyway, and you're supposed to just sit there and read a book, and if you nod out, fall asleep, you're in trouble. So you go into the school and you see all these people standing up. So that's what I remember about school.
Okay. And what was the hardest part about being there, and how did you deal with it?
The hardest part about being there was when you realized that you were alone, okay? And there was no one there to help, to sit, to pat you on the back and say, it's going to be okay, honey, don't worry about it. It was quite the opposite. You really fucked up. Your family doesn't want you. You're going to be here for a long time. They were trained to make you feel worse about the situation than make you feel better. It was survival of the meanest, and the nice guys got stomped on. So realizing I was alone, realizing no one was going to come get me, my friends weren't going to come break me out, which was a fantasy. And my way of dealing with it was to learn very quickly how to not act off my feelings, you know? I mean, you can't even react if someone says, go get this. And you say, yeah, but I will, but I just got to finish. No, you don't react. So I just did what I had to do. I did what I had to do, what I thought I had to do to get out. And it, 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 I'm ashamed of the fact that there were maybe times that I enjoyed it, the power. I, So realizing I was alone and treating other people harshly, and I still want to treat other people harshly. I still feel like there's something inside me that I have to control. Um, Only in the real world you have to be nice,
Yeah.
not in the Elan world. But I did what I had to do, and I conformed to the concepts of the program.
Yeah.
And I actually got to a point where I took pride in how much shit I could take without blinking,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I guess in order to deal with it, I just became robotic,
Yeah. Yeah.
like Dr. Spock or something like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it worked and it helped me through part of my life, and I still use some of the principles. But dealing with it at this point, I've come to the conclusion that there's nothing you can do about it. I've been to counseling, psychiatrists, medication. It's in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
And when I dream, I sometimes dream that I'm there. And I take some sleep medications so that I don't dream a lot, but when I do.
Yeah. I can relate.
So then, so it's just something that you have to put in its proper perspective. You know, you're never going to stop thinking about it. You're never going to stop being angry about it. It comes out at times when I'm under intense pressure because I have explosive anger, which I control.
Yeah. Understandably, you have explosive anger,
Yeah.
Understandably. Um, um, Was there anybody that tried to run from there, and what would they do to runners? I know you tried to run, but what would they usually do to runners, and how would they? Like, did they have a policy on runners? Like, if you run, this will happen to you. What was there?
Well, there were a lot of runners, and there was quite a few people that were 2, 3, 4 time runners, you know? So to a certain degree, it would depend on how long you were gone, if you made any trouble while you were out. And so when I tried to run, I didn't get anywhere. They caught me, they put me in the ring, they humiliated me. And but and I learned to conform. I guess I have it inside me enough survival instincts to do what they tell me to do if I don't want them to hit me again.
Yeah,
But
survival.
there are other people that may have a medical condition or a mental condition that they just can't deal with it. You
Yeah,
know, they can't put their feelings in a locked safe somewhere, you know. It, if you push them hard enough, that you'll get the reaction out of them, and then you beat the reaction out of them. But it doesn't work with everybody.
no.
So, yes, running away. I mean, you didn't get away for more than 20 minutes before they knew you were gone, and they sent out teams, a van with 8 students in teams of 2, and we'd usually find the person, and you bring them back, and sometimes they'd be punished the way that I was, and other times they could be punished more harshly,
Okay.
but it was all that they were always humiliated.
Yeah. Okay.
Like when you're in the ring and you go up against 5 guys, and then they throw in a girl to finish you off, just to humiliate you.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the what was the worst thing you saw or heard about when you were there?
Well,
Or there could be a couple.
sometimes this gets me upset when I think about it. There was a girl there who had epilepsy, and she kept having seizures. So now there was not one person in the house who had even graduated high school, let alone a neurologist that is
Trained.
trained and to tell when someone has a neurological disorder. Okay,
Yeah.
so they made this girl wear a sign. Okay, ask me why I fake seizures to gain attention. Now, I have a daughter with a seizure disorder, and I know for a fact that Linda Roth was not faking it. And I can't imagine the the terror of waking up every day and wondering, "Oh my God, am I going to have a seizure today? What are they going to do? Are they going to put me in the ring if I have a seizure?"
Yeah.
That's that. Okay, that's there was a psychiatrist Gerald Davidson. He started it with Joe Ritchie. He was out of Boston. He was the only one that should have been able to make a prognosis about her seizures or a diagnosis. He never came. He never came once. Joe Ritchie had come in with his pompadour and his mink coat and driving up in his Rolls Royce and would facilitate a cowboy ass kick.
Yeah.
Which means call a general meeting. Joe Ritchie is up front, and this person did this, and no, I didn't. No, I swear I didn't. Two men. I mean, this guy was a 15-year-old kid, maybe 135 pounds. Two 200-pound men take him off in the other room, and all you can hear is like the slap of Rocky hitting the beef, and the kid screaming for his life. And 60 of us out there, so quiet, you could hear a pin drop, you know. He wasn't black and blue. He was purple from his shoulders to his buttocks.
Unbelievable.
And I mean that kind of stuff stays in your mind.
Of course.
But the thing is, when you get physically hurt, you heal. You know, when it's something else, when you're sick and you can't stop the reaction, but you're blamed for it anyways, I would imagine that that'd be something that could really fuck you up.
Yeah, potentially.
Forever.
Yeah.
And also the thing about kids being in charge of other kids and kids punishing other kids and kids restraining other kids, and that kind of stuff shouldn't go on.
No. No, it really shouldn't. Was there anything positive about your experience? Totally fine if there wasn't.
Well, yes. Okay, first of all, it potentially saved my life.
Okay.
Because I was into some very dangerous things that I could have died had I not gone to Elan. And every place I went before, I get out, I'd be a week, a weekend, a month, and I'd get out and start where I left off. And in addition to that, they took, I don't know. Like I said, when I went in there, I was very weak. I was very afraid. I was bullied, and and now I don't know if it's because of Elan. I have a little more confidence, and I know that I'm smart, and I know that I can survive in chaotic situations. That nobody's even could dream up on their wildest day. And but the biggest thing that I got out of Elan was a work ethic.
Okay.
Okay, because when I was at Elan, I took my jobs very seriously. Because most of the time, I was an expediter, and the expediters are responsible for security. So you essentially have the most important job in the house.
Yeah.
And if someone splits on your watch, you potentially get the same punishment that they would. Um, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I was asking if you got anything positive out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to get the job done. You have to get your job done, and it doesn't matter if you're hungry or you're thirsty or you don't feel well or you haven't had enough sleep or having PMS. It does not matter. When you're in the upper levels of expediters, if you don't do your job, they lose $1,200 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now before I went to Elan, I had never done my laundry. I had never folded my clothes. My mother did everything for me. And I gained maybe it was in me already because of growing up around my father, and I would have hit it anyways. But the thing is, when I got out of Elan and I got out of school, it was uphill fast. I had a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
Until I crashed. And then, you know, I've been to detox 50 times and I've been dope sick 1,000 times. So, but, but so the good probably does outweigh the bad of feeling like a social outcast and feeling I can't trust anybody because I have the one person in the world that I'm married to that is completely worthy of trust. So I made out okay in the long run, although I took a few hits on the way.
Yeah. Okay. And what do you struggle with the most as a result of being at Elan? What do you struggle with to this day the most?
I struggle with wanting to treat people nicely. When we were at Elan, if I asked you to do something, I didn't ask you nicely,
Yeah, it
and you
wasn't.
and you did it, okay? In the real world, when you have employees and you want them to do something or you don't like the way they do something, you have to be nice to them, otherwise they quit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they don't want to hang around you anymore, or uh, so it's not easy, especially as my job is very high pressure at times. And when I get under the pressure, people around me have to have fairly thick skin,
Yeah.
because I don't know. I got 5 bad things going on at one time, and the receptionist comes in with a 6th bad thing, and I don't treat her as nicely as I should. She's a wonderful girl, you
Yeah.
know, but I sometimes expect things to go my way like they did at Elan, you know, 'cause people would do what I told them to for fear of what would happen to them if I didn't, because I had the full force and effect of the house behind me.
Yeah.
It wasn't a physical thing. It was all up here, you know. It was a mental chess game.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, you know, the people who didn't belong there, they never, they always had a hard time with why they were sent to the, why are they in a house with junkies,
Yeah.
you know? And then, you know, when they reached the higher levels of jobs, they tried to be nice to the people who were, you know, they wanted to, they thought helping you to grow was being nice to you by pointing out your good qualities, when that was the exact opposite of what they wanted you to do.
Yeah.
You know, they wanted to break you down and to rebuild you
And
into their own image.
yeah. And I can also imagine that you deal with a lot of guilt, probably too, right?
Well, I deal with the guilt of having treated people badly, and you know, like I said, just wanting to get those split T's. That's the thing that really, really sinks in my mind. I wanted out of there so bad, and if I wanted out of there so bad, and this guy, why couldn't I just step by and let him go? You
Well, you
know,
were indoctrinated,
right?
you know, you were brainwashed. You were
I
undermined.
was. I bought into it hook, line, and sinker.
It's not your fault.
I was very serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, as were the people before me who, you know, the people who did well there were tough guys. And I don't mean big, physically big. I mean, you got to be able to eat a lot of shit and kiss a lot of ass.
Yeah. You're in survival mode. You're literally in survival mode.
That's right. And it happens on the first day.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, maybe not the first day, may after, you know, the second or third day when you figure out this is not a mistake. They actually want me to be here.
Yeah. Once the facade pops, once the bubble pops, you're in
Yeah.
for. Yeah. Yeah.
So where were you in?
I was at a place called Spring Creek Lodge Academy in Thompson Falls, Montana.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I was there 22 months. And
In the early 2000s or?
I got there on January 23rd, 2007, and I was there 22 months.
Wow.
I rebelled for my first year until they threw me in isolation and essentially said, if you keep on acting like this, we're just going to send you to Jamaica where they don't have child protection laws. And then if you want to disobey over there, they'll just break your arm and ask you again if you want to comply or not. So they said, we'll just send you there. Your parents already signed away their rights by sending you here. So we don't even need to tell them that we've sent you there until you're there. And so I pretty much complied after that. I was terrified.
So you were escorted there to Wyoming? What Wyoming was it?
Montana.
Mon-
My parents tricked me into going there.
Oh, okay.
Said we were going to check out a school and that we'd be back the next day. And
Okay. Well, that's better than getting snatched, I guess.
yeah.
You hear a lot about that and how traumatic that is, at least.
Yeah, that's a trauma in itself for sure. I
Yeah.
feel like both are traumatizing, but just in different ways. I
Yeah.
feel like being brought there by your parents is to me, it's just a huge slap in the face and a huge betrayal of your trust, and just you're literally abandoned there by your parents and
Yeah.
they're the last person you see. Whereas if you're transported, your parents are kind of the last person you see along with the transporters, but also being transported, I feel like, is a whole nother level of trauma because for a lot of people, you didn't know who these people were in your room that just
Right.
showed up in your room. For all you knew, these were people that were going to kidnap and rape you or murder you, you know, like you don't know who they are. And your parents are, you know, in a lot of the people that have told their story, it's like they're looking at their parents like, help me, you know, and the parents can't do any, like, even if the parent wanted to do something at that point, they've already signed away their rights. So they're powerless in this situation. They've already made the decision to hire the escorts. And once the escorts are there, if you interfere with that situation, then that can become a whole thing in court, you know, because you're interfering with, because you've already signed away your rights. So the transporters are essentially have control over you. Your parents no longer have custody, so it becomes, you know, you can't interfere. So I can see there being a lot of confusion. Well, I know there has, because if people have told me, you know, a lot of confusion and just what the hell is happening? Who are these people? Where am I going? Why did my parents abandon me? Why didn't they help me? You know, why am I getting taken out in handcuffs? So, I mean, there's a whole new level of trauma to being transported. But I would also say that being brought up there by your parents is really bad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when I was in detention center, my mom didn't want to come see me because she knew I just begged to come home, you know. And
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
so so I saw him in court. They didn't talk to me though. They didn't say anything.
And you went straight from court to Elan, right?
I went from the court I went from detention center to court to a small airport. I don't know where it was.
Yeah.
And I went there on a small plane. Not that, you know, like a six-seater or something like that.
Were you handcuffed?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever hear or know about anybody disappearing from Elan? Like just like being there one day and not being there the next day and nobody knowing what happened to him? Do you remember hearing anything about?
No,
Okay. Okay.
not during my time.
Okay. Okay. And how was the food there? Horrible, bearable?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I
Okay.
really don't remember, but I tell you, like I said before, we weren't there to eat the food. We were
Yeah.
there to do our job,
Yeah.
you know, and we ate what was put out for us and you know, but if you were out and you caught a split tea, they would take you out for a slice of pizza and a Coke.
Yeah. To incentivize it. Yeah.
You know, when you haven't had a Coke for 16 months, you
Yeah.
just
That's a
about
sen-
slice somebody's throat, especially for one of those Mexican Cokes.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much the equivalent of crack at that point, you know? It's
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
amazing, you know? Um, okay.
I wish I had just stepped aside and let the person go.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. But you know, you were under mind control, you know?
Yeah,
So you were in fight or flight mode constantly, you know? I need to behave or else something bad's gonna happen to me. And I want to get out of here. And the only way to get out of here is to comply and do what they tell me. So you're constantly in just a fight or flight.
yeah.
So it's, you
And
know,
and the more enthusiasm you do what they would like you to do,
yeah,
you know, supposedly definitely the faster you move up to a higher job with more responsibilities and more privileges,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean you get to leave.
no, no. Okay. Um, what did you struggle with the most after you got like out of the program? Like I know you said you struggled with drugs and whatnot, but was there anything else that you struggled with a lot when you got out?
Well, I just don't feel like I fit in.
I feel that.
where in whatever situation.
Yeah.
I have very few friends. Ever since I left Elan, when I was at Elan, I pretty quickly figured out that I got myself there by trying to impress or be accepted or get respect from people who didn't even deserve my respect.
No, I feel that.
So I had a kind of a fuck you attitude to everybody. I wasn't gonna ever do anything, compromise myself in any way for anyone that I don't love.
Yeah.
You know, good looking girl, guys, whatever. And
Yeah.
since then, you know, my life is really busy. So I don't have time to hang out at the bar or watch the game. I wonder what's going to happen to me when I finally stop working, when I retire, because you know, my kids are grown up and I can't imagine spending that much time with my wife, although I do love her, but I'll get on her nerves. You
Well,
know,
yeah.
I've always been, ever since I was at Elan, I've always thrived under chaotic circumstances.
Well, yeah. I can definitely understand that. I mean, so Elan was a chaotic situation. So I mean,
Right. Elan was nothing but chaos.
yeah.
But sometimes work is like that too. And
So it,
I still function quite the same I did when I was at Elan. So
yeah. At least with the work, thriving equals more money potentially. So
right.
at least there's at least there's that somewhat of a silver lining there. Have you tried to talk to your parents about how Elan affected you? Where are you with your parents? I know you said your dad passed away, right?
My father passed away. I got out of Elan on August 19th, 1978, and he died on August 22nd. And my mother, listen, my mother was really, really worried about me. All right. I mean, when you go in your 15-year-old's room and you find a set of works and a spoon burnt on the other side, I mean, i- 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 I wasn't addicted to drugs back then. Everything was very experimental. But my mother was really worried that I was going to die. And
That's the kind of parents they
I,
want because it's easy to manipulate them.
that's right.
Yep.
And I just didn't have the heart to tell her that
Yeah.
she had been taken advantage of and to play, I mean,
Yeah. They were bamboozled too.
yeah, yeah. And I was there so long ago that information didn't come out about it for so many years later that she really only knew about it the last few years before she died.
Okay. Okay.
Probably in connection with this Michael Skakel case.
Okay. And what's that for people that might not know?
Michael Skakel was the nephew of Ethel Kennedy, who was married to Robert F. Kennedy.
Oh wow.
And he was accused of committing a murder in the Bellhaven section of Greenwich, Connecticut in 1975, and he stabbed. He hit the girl so hard with a golf club that the head broke off, and then he used the stick to stab her through the throat. And
Wow.
he supposedly admitted to it when he was at Elan,
Wow.
and they convicted him in 2002, mostly on the testimony of former Elan students, but the conviction was overturned in 2013. So he spent 11 years in jail
Wow.
over some, did you do it? No. Bam, 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 bam. Did you do it?
Yeah.
No. Bam, bam. Next person. Did you do it? No. Bam. Broke the guy's nose, blood everywhere. Finally, he just broke down and said, I don't know if I did it or not. I was really drunk at the time.
Yeah. And that's good
So,
enough, you know?
so that turned into people saying, "Oh, I was with him one night and he said, I can get away with murder. I'm a Kennedy," or, that guy was really screwed over. I don't know if he did it or not.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But they base the conviction on the testimony of witnesses who were not credible.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, if you look it up on the internet, Michael Skakel, well, you'll get a million hits.
Okay. I'll do a dive into that and do some research on it. Uh if you could go back in a time machine and knowing what you know now, if you could go back in a time machine and not go through Elan, would you do it and why?
Well, if I could go back in a time machine, first of all, I had no choice about going to Elan or not. It was um, uh, a, a, a consequence of my behavior.
Yeah.
But if I could go back again, knowing what I know now, would I do it differently? 100% yes. If I went back in time and I didn't know what I know now, would I do the same thing over again? 100% yes. I was born with no conscience and no fear of consequences. So, well, my first memory I have is stealing change out of my father's drawer, you
Okay.
know? So, yes. Would I like it to have been differently? Absolutely. If I could go back and do it over again, I'd be a straight A student. I'd go to Harvard. I have a good relationship with my father. I'd help him out in his business if I could. I'd be more empathetic to my mother. And yeah, life would be dandy,
Yeah.
but that's never going to happen.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
no matter how hard I work, he's never going to come out of the grave and tell me he's proud of me,
Yeah.
you
No,
know? So,
I feel that. um, what do you think would have helped you instead of being sent away?
I think I could have been sent to Elan for 6 months, and I would have said, "Oh, that's enough. I'll be a good boy, I promise," and actually followed through. You see, because the thing is, Elan is just a big fucking waste of time.
Yeah.
You don't learn anything.
Yeah.
You don't learn how to I don't know you because I can look in your eyes and see into your soul.
Yeah.
Everything they told you up there was complete, utter horseshit. All they
Yeah.
wanted to do was make money, and they did it very well.
Yeah.
Okay, they Joe Ritchie doesn't even know my name. I mean, he's been dead a long time, but, I mean, the last 3 or 4 months I was there basically as an unpaid employee
Yeah.
because I was in charge of security, and they would go home at night and give me the keys to the place.
Yeah. Free labor.
Free labor,
Yeah.
no cost. As a matter of fact, they're getting $1,200 a month for having me do it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I could have gotten out then, I don't know. I just keep thinking I could have had more time with my father. I could have had more time to prepare to go to school. I could have more time to prepare to figure out what I wanted to do. Everything was like it was chaos. It was pure and complete chaos. I mean, everyone fell apart around me. And I was 3 days out of an institution and nothing affected me. I mean, we went to his funeral and I couldn't even bring up a tear. I mean, Elan had literally taken the feelings out of me.
Yeah. You were conditioned.
And just once they came back really hard and really fast.
Yeah. All at once, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can relate. Okay. And I have one more question for you. If you could say, if Joe Ritchie or any of the people that were running Elan were here in front of you, what would you say to them? Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah. I'd like to say to Marty Kruglich that he is a very, very small man who gets off treating younger people with hostility and generally making them afraid of him. And he likes it.
Yeah.
And, I would love a face-to-face with him. I would love a face-to-face with him. And Joe Ritchie is dead. But I often think of going back to that very first day when he came in with his friggin' mink coat and pompadour and said some sideways nasty things to me and said, "Hey, who do you think you're fucking talking to, asshole?"
Yeah.
And just that's about it. Just those two. Those two. I mean, there were others, but they didn't affect me. They weren't part of my program. They were in a different place.
Okay. Okay.
But those two guys, boy, I mean, to think that you treat a child that way, a 14 or a 15-year-old, you say to her in front of a group of 50 people, every 99 and 9/10 of the people in this room think you're a piece of shit. And if they had their way, they'd cut your throat and rid the world of an ingrate like you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a friggin' 33-year-old man talking to a 14-year-old child
Yeah. In any other setting, you would be.
with a smile on your face while
Yeah.
you're saying it. And not only that, he's a fucking child molester too,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is why he went there in the first place.
Yeah. People he can take advantage of.
Well, no, because he was arrested for child abuse or a sexual whatever.
Oh wow. Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
so this guy's in charge of the place, and you send your kid to.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
the head guy.
Yeah. Yep. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Well, this place has been closed since 2011.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
talking about the boarding schools that are similar that
yeah.
are still open. Yeah.
Um, I have 3 children, and two of them really gave us a run for our money. You know, I know it's really hard, but with my experience, you gotta have guts. You gotta say to your kid, if you're gonna behave this way, you can't stay in my home. Goodbye. You can't say, you can't stay at my home, but I'm completely controlling where you go, and you're gonna be treated this way, and it's such blah 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 according to how I see fit, you know?
Yeah.
You have to if you're gonna get rid of your fucking kid, you gotta have the guts to let go,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, if I could go back and do it over again and I had a choice between leaving my parents' house or going to Elan, I would have, of course, left my parents' house, couch
Yeah.
surf for a couple of weeks and try to find a job or a place to live. Okay, but that didn't happen to me, I was everywhere I went was in an orange jumpsuit and a leg and wrist shackles,
Yeah.
you know? Maybe, probably I would I after a couple of weeks I would have come crawling back because I mean, how long can a 16-year-old stay out on his own,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
you know? But that's the thing that got me the most about my anger towards my parents that I never talked to them about. I never got a chance to talk to my father about it. And I didn't have the heart to talk to my mother about it.
Yeah.
She was really worried. She for my safety. But she was overprotective.
Yeah.
And she could have tried a different way, but she didn't have the guts.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're taking a step that you're gonna do this thing to your kid, you're actually gonna sign custody of him. Well, let him try it on his own first.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. There's definitely there's a million other better options than sending your kid away. Sending your kid away is never the right choice, in my opinion.
Well, it was probably the right choice in my circumstance, but I wasn't given any options,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
And there's no way to know that because we don't know what could have been,
And that's not because didn't have the courage.
Yeah.
I would have been out in a minute. She didn't have the courage.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely
So I
agree.
probably would have been back in a week and ended up in Elan anyways, but at least she could have said, I told you, but
Yeah.
how many times can you say I told you,
Yeah.
before you go and make the big decision.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well,
All right, my man.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to extend an invitation to you. For a lot of people, stuff comes up after these first interviews. So if something comes up, just take some notes down about what you want to talk about, and you're more than welcome to come on the show again for part 2. And if you guys have watched so far in the video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not
Where's
already.
the subscribe button? Is it in, well, YouTube or Facebook or?
I'll send you all of my links after this. I'll send them to you.
All right, I'll subscribe for sure.
Yep.
You
And
got one more.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, just like the video, comment, and share. Let's keep on exposing these places. And I get comments every now and then from people that say, I didn't send my kid away because I watched your podcast, or I feel like I'm not so alone because after listening to your podcast. So we are making a difference. We are helping people. This work matters. And the way you can help is by sharing, subscribing, liking, interacting with the video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thank
Bye,
you.
y'all.